Comics Podcast, and for the first time, we are live. I'm Matt. I am George, and I am joined today by Gary, Walt, Tim, and Austin. Hi. Hi. I'm really excited. We have a whole lot to talk about. Right. And now that our opening theme song has ended, you can probably hear us a little better. We have a million questions, maybe not quite a million, but a bunch. We figured we'd touch on the Fantastic Four, Steve Ditko passing, and some of the latest stuff on Comic-Con, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's jump right into it, guys. It's been 5 weeks.
Yes, it has been quite a while.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Were you guys as surprised as me at the volume of questions and comments we got?
There were quite a variety. I'll just go leave it at that.
I was glad I checked the inbox.
Yeah, every other one was like, where you guys been?
Yeah.
M&F'ers. You M&F comic M&F.
What happens when you comic?
See, we're live, or I'd be
bad
cussing.
guys.
Yeah, no 8-second delay there.
Yeah. I still think Small Turd Saturdays is perfect.
Well, yeah, we can probably let that slide.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, the one I talked to you about, though.
You like that?
When it was just you and I feel strongly about this. I know he's going to agree with me. I think probably everybody's going to agree with me. The person that wrote in about wanting to look at the book, the New Mutants 98, and the guy said, you know, it's near mint. Isn't that good enough? And I was telling George, I'm like, I do the respectful thing. If there's like a Mylar book that's pretty expensive or whatever, I want to see it. I hand it to the dealer and say, can I look at this, please? And most of them say, sure. And they take it out and gingerly hand it to me, and I look it over and make my decision. If somebody will not allow you to do that in some fashion, don't buy the book.
Yeah, I'd be moving on.
Yeah.
Agreed.
How about you?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because as Walt said, just about every retailer will allow you to open that book. Like, yeah, sure. But, you know, they
don't like that stuff where you
five,
pull it out and start doing it. You know, like you pull a book out of a Mylar and start doing it without asking them. I'm not really cool with that, though. You know what I mean? Some people like they're still their property. You know, but if you go up to them and say, "Can I see this?" They should certainly say, "By all means, do it."
Or at the very least, open it themselves if they're that concerned and present it.
No, I hand it to them. I'll let them take it out. I'm like,
Yeah, well, you know that stuff's going to be up on the wall, back high up, you know, where giants like you can reach them.
Yeah, but maybe
As
that's
opposed to me.
maybe I'm old and jaded, but New Mutants the first. I know what it's worth, but that's a newer book to me.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
You know, if you're
Yeah.
talking an old EC or early Batman or something, you know, that's, you know, from the archives. But I know to a lot of people, if they're just getting into comic books, that's an older book. What is it, 20, 30 years old?
Yeah, it came out in 91.
91, yeah. So to me, that's still a new book. So
Yes.
we're not talking about Detective 27 that, you know,
Well,
can I see that? Can I just hold it?
Yeah.
It's like, get that book out of there, because if I want to pay $300 for it, I'm going to see what
oh, absolutely.
Not-
That's my point. I don't care if it's a $20 book.
Not-
I
well-
don't care.
Well, not to
Can I
mention
look at
with
it,
it,
please?
not to mention with it being a newer book, it's also rather plentiful. I mean, that
Yeah.
book's worth a lot,
But it's worth a lot of money, though.
but there's a ton of them. And my only point in saying that is that whoever the dealer is saying, "Well, that's good enough," it's like, dude, I can buy this book every day of the week for $300 anywhere. Like, it's not like you're holding, like you said, an old Batman book where this might be the only one I come across.
300 copies of 9/8 of Deadpool of New Mutants 98 right now on eBay. I will guarantee it.
Sure.
If you counted them, there's probably 200 to 300.
And that's what I said. You know, people like-
9/8.
Well, some of these big dealers, Ted, you know, of course,
Yeah.
Harley and all those guys. I mean, that book is just like nothing to them.
They don't even. He doesn't even. Ted Van Leeuwen doesn't even have that book.
Yeah.
He's
And
like,
again, we're
I
not putting it down, guys. I mean, if you want it, that's great. You're gonna pay a lot of money for it, but yeah, yeah. It. I wouldn't be sweating that if I was a retailer.
That was the one that stuck in my craw. This, you know, I don't know. You buy a car, you test drive it. You do. I mean, a comic book is no different.
That
You should
was
be
gonna
able.
be my
You
example.
should look at it. You should
Yeah,
be
it's
able to look at
$300 and there's a page missing. There's a
Yeah.
coupon cut out of it. It's like,
Or a
Yeah,
value
wonderful
stamp.
values,
yeah.
And
How-
what he does-
why would I trust him anymore? And he's going to trust me.
Oh, I found torn
Yeah.
pages. I've like had some dealers go, "I'm really sorry," like apologize. I'm
Yeah.
like, "This is a cool book, but I just happen to notice page 5 is like torn all the way up to the top."
You know what it reminded me of is one time when I was quite a bit younger, I went to buy like my second car and I found it for like $1,200, and I said, you know, can I pay to have it inspected just to see where it's at? You're like, no, it's $1,200, take it or leave it. Like, but you won't allow me to invest
You're
a
hiding
minute
something.
or some money in making sure I'm covered, then yeah, we're good. If I can, real quick, there was quite a few comments, and it was very reassuring and flattering
Yeah.
that people actually gave a damn.
Dare I
that we weren't
say
on the,
shocking.
yeah. Let's see here. We had What the heck happened to you hecking podcast?
Where the heck are you?
You comic-loving hucksters. Let's see. Hope the show comes out soon. It was entertaining during my commutes to work. Love the podcast. Love how it isn't about politics or religion or other real-world stuff that divides people. Something great about listening to a podcast where the biggest debate will be DC or Marvel.
I think we've touched on social issues from time to time.
Yeah, here and there.
Here and
but
there,
we don't,
but
like,
Within the
beat
context
to
of
death.
comics, though, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Within the context of storylines and comics.
I guess what that person's saying is, with so many things being divisive, it's nice to just have like an escape where they don't have to acknowledge
Yeah,
it.
'cause we don't agree
Absolutely.
on everything. That's
We
cool.
don't.
Nope.
Gary and I haven't agreed on anything since 1989.
Oh, I remember 1989. What a
Hey,
year.
that even predates New Mutants '98.
What would have been great if you'd have been, no, it was 1990. No,
that
89.
predates me.
And that predates Austin and New Mutants.
Let's agree to disagree.
Here's one I'd like to get out of the way immediately. Are there any comics starring dolphin characters? I guess I can Google it, but I want my question mentioned on the podcast.
Lobo.
Oh, yeah.
Lobo loves dolphins.
Yeah, Kelly Jane.
That last Lobo.
Yeah.
He's a dolphin lover, which I thought, first of all, I think Lobo is. That one I won't go there. But dolphins. But yeah,
I didn't even know how to answer that question.
I saw an old.
I guess because of the fact I'm not a big fan of anamorphic
Yeah, me neither.
characters.
I think here's something we do agree on. That was my big problem. Like, I love Savage Dragon, but Eric Larson went way overboard on those types of characters.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
Oh,
one of
the
the
old,
reasons why I don't read
Freak
it anymore.
Force.
really.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, I think the dragon himself was cool, but some of those
Yeah.
other characters were like.
When you get to like the shark guy,
Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
The one that got me was like issue 14, the lobster dude, whatever.
Yeah.
That was the fan wrote in, and like the lobster with the old Popeye pipe, and I'm like, sorry, come on, Eric.
and Lobster Dude's the laziest name since He-Man. Lobster, Stinkor. Remember the skunk guy?
Well, it's sort of like the Rhino and Savage Dragon.
Thank you.
They're
Yes.
they're based upon animals, but at the same time they're humanoid.
Can we give a
That
personal
makes
shout
sense.
out to
It was pretty cool in the old Commandy back in the day.
It was great.
You had the tigers and
Yeah.
the apes and stuff.
While we don't want to deter anyone or discourage anyone from sending questions, because we're always asking for them, and it's cool to get a bunch. We appreciate the thoughts behind sharing your Batwing story, but
We really can't divulge.
Yeah, can't really
any
get into
details
that.
On that.
Personal shout out to our flexible friend.
Yeah, there you go.
oh my
I knew a
goodness.
guy that used to drape his over a beer can.
Nice. All right.
Uh,
Tell the truth.
all right. Well, hey, jumping on,
Went from
maybe.
dolphins to that.
I guess we did, laddie.
Maybe a dumb question, and maybe one you already answered. But how many actual comics do each of you guys own?
Oh, jeez.
Who wants to answer that? I'll go first. I own 12 comic books. I own
It's easy for you.
25,000 books here, but I personally own 12
Your own
books.
collection, 12.
Just 12. Yep.
You almost had the magic number 13 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, got close, but
Yeah, close. I'd say I got about 10 long boxes.
10 long boxes, around 3,000, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you guys think?
Thanks to you, it's growing.
When I about 91, I had 50 so long boxes.
Wow.
So I had 15, 16,000 books.
Jeez.
But now I keep it about 20 long boxes. And that's collecting since 1974, so it's a long time.
Sure.
But yeah, you throwing my CD collection, after a while, you get so much space in your house, something's got to go. And what meant so much a long time ago doesn't mean a whole lot today. So I sell books. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I have 6 long boxes and about 15, 16 100 count boxes, like for magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. You're all digital, aren't you?
Mostly.
Digital
But I have
magic.
about 50 to 60
Really?
hard copies and then a little short box that is at the Leach Ranch.
Yeah.
Nice. Being curated by the Lease.
It's in the
estate.
Lyceum.
Hey.
Safest place on earth.
And of course, that
That's true.
question's probably a change in a lot
It is.
sort of towards Austin and stuff because people just read online.
And I believe there was a question about the DC streaming service, which we could.
Yeah, sure. Just asking what we thought about it. To be honest with you, I didn't know that was a thing until I looked. Somebody in here said something about it, but I looked it up, and my immediate thought was, I've seen all this, and I own some of this. Like, I don't know that they have a big enough library to warrant paying. Like, the number I heard was $75 a year.
Something like that.
I mean, even though it's only $5 or $6 a month, the idea is like a Netflix, but it's exclusive for just DC stuff, all their animated stuff, like, I guess in tied with Warner Brothers, like the Batman movies and everything that DC puts out in terms of visual content, animated or real life, on a streaming device, and that's the only way you can see it. It's like, well, if you already own it.
Yeah, I'm one.
Are these comic
I'm
books
one
too?
season away from owning
yeah,
all the Batmans, the animated series. So
Yeah.
why would I? Wouldn't.
I think what it is now a lot of that stuff is not available to purchase, and they're probably just hitting a younger demographic than us.
I think that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, because they can basically put the kibosh on it. It's like nobody's buying hard copy anymore. So if they can relegate to where you can't see any Batman or Superman movie or any of the Justice League cartoons or the Batman animated series, if they can somehow, and they can because they own it, take all that stuff and set it aside, and the only way you can watch that stuff is by subscribing to their thing, I mean, I guess that'll work. Just it's not going to work for any of us because we have it all.
Also, with the older books that might not be in circulation anymore, or might be, collector's items that cost buku bucks, and younger kids haven't been exposed to them. That's a way for them to get their access to that as well.
So you can get into comics as well.
From what I understand, and I could be mistaken, but from what I understand, there are books that are going to be on there. And so they have a short library so far of books that are available, mostly older titles and older issues.
Yeah.
And then they will constantly be updating it with newer books as they come out.
Huh.
So it'll be the cartoons like Young Justice, the Batman the Animated Series, Teen Titans, the original one, not the trash one.
Yeah.
All of the animated movies, all of the live action movies, and then even starting a platform for launching new series. Like they just put out a trailer for Titans.
Yeah,
Comic-Con.
Saw that.
And that will be available first on DC streaming service.
Yeah.
So kind of as a way, and based on that alone, I think it's a way that they're trying to target the younger demographic, and then also kind of maybe have a nostalgia factor there for older collectors or older, fans.
Yeah, I think even there, though, if you're doing it online, you're still talking about looking on your phone or a television set, looking at a comic book.
And I think that loses that whole authenticity.
Yeah,
of
like
feel.
I wouldn't. I mean, and that sounds
How
probably.
I roll. I mean,
It's
it's not
a-
for everybody, but that's how I roll. And
Yeah.
I don't, if somebody would enjoy that, and that's the way they want to see that media,
Yeah.
that way, knock yourself out.
Sure,
Well, I
I
have the
agree.
first couple hundred issues of Mad digitally,
Yeah.
and it's nice to look, and it's got the ads and
Oh, I look
the
at old.
covers
I
and
look at
everything.
old horror,
It's
pre-code
cool.
horror all the time.
Yeah, it's cool to
because
be able to see that.
You can't try buying that stuff.
Yeah,
You can't.
yeah.
I mean,
That's what
we're
I'm
talking
saying.
50s stuff that it's destroyed. I mean, I like to research some of that stuff, and you can find it
Yeah.
online.
And the good thing about that is you're talking about the old animated series or anything.
Yes, sir.
Unless you do buy it, I mean, I'm sure those are pristine versions. When Kiss, the group put out
yeah,
Kissology,
archive stuff, yeah.
all these concerts that have been leaked out on YouTube and stuff, then you finally get the best version you can possibly get of it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So I'm sure DC is putting out pristine copies. They're not fourth generation VHS copies that you
And that's
sometimes
the thing,
see.
'cause
or-
some of those are hard to find. Like if you try to look up right now, like there was an episode of Superman the Animated Series where it crossed over with Batman the animated series.
Uh-huh.
Batman was taking Lois out on a date, that type of stuff. That is not available, to the best of my knowledge, on any of the streaming services: Hulu,
Sure.
Netflix, Amazon Prime, any of those. But if I go try to look it up on YouTube, I might get a 4-minute segment of that.
Right.
Whereas this DC streaming service will have the whole thing available, in cut clean 1080p.
Sure.
And that's huge for the nostalgia
Absolutely.
factor. But that's also like, guys that may be 10 years older than me and have younger kids now that are like, 7 to 8 years old, and they're trying to introduce their kids to that medium.
It's a clean way to, just hear it. It's
Exactly.
like a clean slate. And I get that totally. My dad hates he enjoys like being able to just flip on the TV and watch what he wants there. But as far as the ownership of it, he hates it. Like the whole time I was growing up, as long as I can remember, he got a VCR in 1980. And he always tells the story. It was $1,000 in 1980. It's half of it slid out,
Top
went
loader
into
and all that.
the whole bit.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy, and he taped everything. I mean, by '82, he had 2 VCRs, and he was taping in 2 separate rooms on 2 separate TVs. I mean, he had, I'm not kidding you, probably 20,000 VHS tapes of and he was cataloged and all this stuff. and he was a big fan of this movie called Panic in the Year Zero. It was the first movie I ever knew of that was an exam. It starred. It wasn't Vincent Price. It was on like a double bill when you got the DVD or the VHS. But it was about this nuclear or atomic explosion.
Last Man on Earth is the Vincent Price one,
and that was on.
Which is
it's
Omega Man. I Am Legend.
Well, then it was a double feature on this tape. Anyway, this movie called Panic in the Year Zero, and it was really ahead of its time. It was this idea of there was an atomic war, and this family, basically this husband's trying to lead his wife and kids away from all this horror without them having to see it, and then just the breakdown of society. And you're talking like 1958 or 59. Well, he loved that movie, and he had a VHS tape of it years and years ago. Well, for whatever reason, he didn't have it anymore, and I found you could get it on Amazon. So for $10, I buy it on Amazon. He's watched it, I don't even know how many times. Then about 7 months later, he goes to watch it. He calls me. He's like, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but it's not on here. I go over and look, and Amazon had removed it and refunded the $9.99. And that drove him crazy. It's like, the very idea that I paid for this, it's supposed to be a copy I own. He's like, I grew up in a time where you had to scan TV Guide and hope something came on and be sitting there. And when the very first opportunity came where I could control and grab things and own them, I pulled all my resources and, I very much put his money where his mouth is. And I did that. And now we're in this boat where they can take it away again. Like, he hates that. And I mean to be too long-winded with that, but I mean I see that point, and I think it's, I don't know, I just start collecting stuff in hard copies so nobody can take it away.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
And of course, better copies are now going to be on YouTube because someone will find a way to streaming to download it and put it up.
Well, you can already.
I watched an old Doctor Strange one day, like it just goes like panel to panel.
Yeah,
it's like Pink Floyd playing in the background.
Well, and I already can watch stuff better on YouTube because for $9.99 a month, you buy YouTube Red, and then they have high-def versions of all that stuff.
Well, and then there's two channels that I can think of specifically, like for broke college kids and young people, and I'm not going to say like myself, but that do a very good job at chronicling new books as they come out, but also major storylines in both DC, Marvel, and even sometimes in Image. And they do dramatic readbacks and things like that with panel imagery. And it's very short videos, 8 minutes, to tell a story. But those options are available as well.
I'd probably like something like that.
It's actually pretty entertaining.
And there again, the DC streaming is no different from Sirius XM or any other HBO
WWE
back
Network,
in the day, or when you used to have lifetime memberships to video clubs. So it'll work itself out.
WWE Network.
But to actually have pristine copies of all that stuff put out by DC's. I don't watch any of it, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to support that. That's rad.
I've read a couple books online. It's pretty convenient, especially to see something
it's really cool.
that I'm not sure. As you're talking about the New Mutants.
Yeah.
And you open it up and like, wow, this is the first appearance of Deadpool, and this sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no one's ever said. And of course, I'm not judging that particular book, New Mutants '98, but no one's ever said that it's the second coming or anything.
Right. No.
No one's ever said you've got to read this story.
It's just a
The
story
origin
based,
of
on,
a character.
based on the introduction.
It's an origin of a character though that is like
Well,
everybody sort of loves.
Yeah.
I like Deadpool. I thought the second movie was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. But yeah, you're right though. For the first impression, well, I mean, look at some of the early stuff too. Some younger people saw like this is the first appearance of whatever, or whomever. They might some of those early Batmans. They think probably it's pretty stiff,
Yeah, pretty hokey.
and hokey.
Yeah.
Right.
This question was my favorite one, and I'll tell you why. Well, it just was. It spoke to me, and then I found out that my buddy Dave was the one that sent it in. He messaged me this morning. What is the worst comic crossover you can all think of? Alpha Flight teams with Jar Jar Binks to face R.J. Fletcher from Channel 8 News and UHF, and Tiny from Revenge of the Nerds 2. That's pretty awful.
That is pretty awful.
I didn't even know what to say about that question.
Kind of hard to top.
Is that a real thing?
No.
I was about to cry.
No, what's the worst one you could make up, I guess?
Oh, man.
He's a Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, that's bad.
Well, didn't they bring frickin' Dazzler back? Dazzler and frickin' anything.
They already canceled that series, too. Like
Did it even come out?
Yeah, number 1 came out.
No, it didn't.
Yeah,
Really?
It was on
You
the wall
actually
for a
have
little
one?
while.
Yeah.
It was on the wall.
No, I don't see it.
Somebody bought
It
that.
was sitting over on that side
Yeah, I
last time
ended
we
up-
were in here.
Somebody bought that.
Marvel does this thing where if they, I
Wow.
guess, if they anticipate something to sell good and it doesn't, they'll throw in free copies to help.
Promote it and try to get the cloud up.
So I ordered one copy of Dazzler because it's Dazzler, and they sent me 4 free ones. So I had 5 copies on the wall, and yeah, the last time I looked, I had 4 of them.
Darn it, Marvel! How dare you cancel such a fantastic series?
Yeah.
I think anything with Darkhawk in it, maybe. Like manly art. Not a big fan.
When Darkhawk came out, I bought 2 copies of number 1. One to pay for college.
How'd that work out?
I sold
Still got
the
the
whole
other one.
run
Still got the other
in
one?
mint for $5 to a kid.
I'm sorry.
Is Perfect
For the
Bound
kid.
is Square Bound and Perfect Bound the same thing?
My familiarity with Squarebound is the stuff back in the 70s that Marvel jacked them to 25 cents, but they were cool. They were thicker. That's a Squarebound.
I thought
Yeah.
Perfect Bound was like not necessarily a hardback, but
What's it? Dark Knight Returns.
yeah.
That's Squarebound.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any difference. I could be wrong.
Okay. Are you guys as mad as I am about how long it takes for these crappy miniseries events to play out? Frank Miller took 2 years to put out DK3, and now Doomsday Clock is taking forever. I don't even care anymore.
That's the good point right there. I don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
Well, the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns was delayed. Camelot 3000 with Brian Boland was delayed. The Watchmen was delayed. All these we've lived through this back in the 80s once. So
Everything in Image was delayed for some poor
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except no. They got back.
Fantastic Four has been
Spawn
delayed.
showed up on time all the time.
Yeah, number 4 didn't. Number 4 was late.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because
Remember-
that had that stupid coupon in it.
Yeah, it was like they came out with 6 or 5 and 6 and then 4.
Yeah, that was they put that coupon.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
no, that's nothing new. Comics being delayed.
Yeah, we
Lord
don't-
forbid it ever has to do with any illness or anything that's happened before in comic books. You know?
What was the guy name of the guy that did
Wetworks.
Wetworks?
Will
I knew you were going to
Spacek.
say
I
that.
remember hearing like a family member passed away and he broke his drawing hand, and they came up with it's like let's stick with whatever the real reason is. And I mean, God forbid all those reasons were true. I'd feel terrible, but it's like, come on.
He could have been a superstar, and he can't draw more than 3 books in a row.
Yeah.
We were always disappointed. We were always excited when he brought something new out.
Yep.
And then a couple issues and he was gone.
His issues of Spawn were really good.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we actually burned through quite a few of those.
Run the gambit.
We really did. The one I had here, someone wanted to.
Questions.
Let's see. If my vote counts for anything, I'd like longer podcasts, even if they aren't as frequent. I listen to it during my trip to work, and 90 minutes is the perfect time.
Wow.
I don't expect you to tailor it to me, but anything under an hour, and I usually have to skip it because I can't switch to something while driving, and I hate when it ends, and I still have 40 minutes on the road. Just one opinion from the Twitterverse. Keep up the good shows. I enjoy them, especially the longer ones.
All right.
I got no problem talking.
That's
That
what
is.
she
Thank you. I
said.
think everyone enjoys the longer ones.
That's what she said.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Kramer, what do you think about the new Hulk?
Well, I
I've
read
been-
number 2.
Wait
I
till you
haven't
read
read
number
3
three.
yet.
I've been wanting to
Wait,
talk to you.
You should read number 3 first.
I've
before
been wanting
you
to talk
say
to you.
anything.
Because, he alludes to the fact that he wanted to see if he could die.
Right.
So apparently, because I was always wondering how they're going to get out of this. And that this Hulk wasn't some different Hulk. That it is Banner. And he didn't die. That Hawkeye didn't kill him. Right?
Right.
Am I reading it right?
Yeah, I
From
think
up
you
to
were
number
right.
2?
Yeah.
Hulk can't.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's...
Hulk won't let him. The Hulk part of him won't let him die.
Right.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. I'll buy that. Yeah.
I
You know me, I'm always
didn't think-
persnickety about things when it comes to
Did you
the
read
Hulk. and-
Banner? No, I can't, the Corbin did.
Yeah.
I thought that. I mean, do you remember he was he was flatlining,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the very last panel was a big green beep.
I think
You can't. I mean, it's believe it or not. I mean,
Personally, I really
it
love
happened
that.
before.
Huh?
I really love that.
What's
Oh
that?
yeah.
I think Hulk is like the best modern retelling of like a Jekyll Hyde situation,
yeah.
where one has absolutely no control over the other,
Yeah.
no matter how hard they try.
And
a
that
constant
story
struggle.
changes slightly,
He's
but that
still
story
there.
does change from time to
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
with
for
the,
sure.
With the Gray Hulk, with all the different Hulks or different Hulk personalities. Of
Yeah, like Red Hulk and Gray Hulk. I mean,
well, that you know,
well,
being
that's
a different
person, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's a really cool.
Yeah.
They could have done it a lot of ways, but I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it too. Even number 3. I mean, I've read some stuff online. People are bashing number 3. I kind of like it.
Me personally,
Yeah.
I liked it, but I could understand why people are like.
Well, people don't like stuff jumping around, and I can understand that.
You'll get it when you read it.
Yeah, you'll
It's
read
no
it.
big revelation.
Yeah, it's
You'll-
not like, you know.
And I think that they're keeping pace with how they present him in other forms of media as well. Because at the end of that Incredible Hulk movie in the MCU, he puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. And then halfway through the trigger pull, he spits the bullet out. And it's like Hulk will not allow him to die no matter what he does.
Yeah.
Well, of course, at one time he had Banner's intelligence while he was a Hulk,
Yeah.
and then he had Hulk's strength
While he was
while he was Banner.
This is this phone call. Stay tuned, true believers.
I think George just made like a sort of drug
I think-
dealy comic deal out there.
Yeah,
Like
he
he
just
grabbed
took a
some
bunch of
comic
books
books and took them outside.
Not a
And,
word
like,
was said. He
and
disappeared.
wouldn't say
I hope he
anything
comes
to us,
back.
man. Did he make an underground comic deal? Or
Well, there is a
anything?
yard sale out there.
Well, if he comes and takes my chair, I know the.
We were just
the
saying
game's
without you
over.
made like a drug deal, like
Yeah.
comic trade or something out there. We're like,
Exit
let's go.
stage
No,
left.
I had a guy that misunderstood. He thought we were open till 12. And I was like, no, I'm open at 12. But he drove like an hour and a half to pick up 500 books for a deal. So I'm trying to. He's
See,
out there. I wouldn't want to make
he
him wait for
said
an hour and a
deal,
half.
guys.
So you guys have to run without
Ghetto
with
Fabulous Productions.
Yeah, we actually had some sing along a little bit
Yep.
because somebody called you and we just sang along with the ringtone.
With your.
This is
that-
not great because
was
the
that-
ringtone doesn't come across on the podcast.
Oh.
So it just suddenly first
So
thing
we're
gets
just,
on.
you know,
We're just nuts.
winging it. That's pretty funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
So how about Steve Ditko? Passing
Wow,
away.
wow,
Yeah, get back on
wow,
track.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, there was like somebody said that he died, and they're like, "Oh, that's fake. He didn't die." And it was like a week, and then he really did die.
Yeah, it's real.
On the 4th. Did he die on the 4th?
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, that gives up all of our dreams of actually getting his autograph.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never looked up his autograph. Is it crazy? Can you get a
Can't
little?
find it. You can't find it.
That's the thing.
Really?
I feel like it's
Try
insane.
finding one. You can't even buy it. No way. I'd find one.
That's crazy.
The only thing I see going for usually a couple grand are he did correspond with a lot of people.
Like
I
letters
don't know
and
that
stuff.
I don't know that I would call it a sympathy. He always signed it Steve. You know, I mean, these correspondence he loved. They said he loved to do that. Lovecraft was like that too, by the way. Written correspondence, he was
Right.
huge into it. But they said Ditko was very much into it, and but it just says, you know, Steve finding a piece of his artwork signed. Good
Impossible.
luck. I'm sure there might be some people. Actually, I don't know if there's hardly anybody, if anybody has that stuff.
I guess it's disappointing because the fact that he lived to be in his 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
90.
Yeah.
And
92,
absolutely no
91,
contact whatsoever.
90.
Then you read the guy who was sort of his friend for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and said he visited him and said he was in his studio and worked all the time. And you're like, well,
Where's your stuff?
Yeah, because he said he was never married,
Yeah.
so he doesn't have any family.
Yes, he has family in Johnstown. They're still alive.
Well, I mean,
No, it's
obviously
immediate family,
brothers,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm just wondering who's ahead of his estate.
I was gonna say
What-
somebody
what- what's
has
gonna
to be
happen?
for someone like for Ditko.
So there's going to be a whole lot of
Well,
stuff
the
coming
one-
out. That's
the
going to
one-
be very expensive.
The one French dude that flew over,
Yeah.
the one French dude that flew over, and he actually put his foot in the door, and he did talk through the door, said he could see in, but he saw like stacks of like art pages and stuff.
I feel like Stan Lee has it all. And
No,
he's
I
gonna
know
bury it in a vault.
Ditko had that he had.
Well, I'm saying now that he's
original
passed.
pieces. Marvel probably has a lot.
Yeah,
I'm sure
and-
Marvel has a good amount of it.
And,
Well, the National Archive has Amazing
that
Fantasy 15 in its entirety.
My thing was going to be at that point if Marvel has it, if Lee has it, if anybody that he's worked with has some of the artwork, I don't know that we will ever see it.
A guy tried to
I
give
don't
him
know.
all the pages to Amazing Fantasy 15. A guy tried to give it to him, and he declined it. So it ended up going to the archives.
And that's what I'm saying. I
National
feel like it'll all end up archived somehow, some way.
Right.
Indeed. I agree with everything you've just said.
Indubitably.
For the last
Talking
4
to
minutes.
Ditko.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What's left behind? Because I asked him about an autograph, and he said you can't find it.
I don't think so. Not like a comic that's Steve Ditko.
Do you think he ever did?
Lots of correspondence. I was like he wrote letters to people. There's a lot of things.
But I mean, do you think he ever signed a comic book?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man.
Yeah.
Speaking of correspondence, not taken away from Steve Ditko, I know we're always excited whenever people like banter back and forth to us and answer our stuff on Facebook. But you know, Kelly Jones had that thread the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
He answered me. I'm just like, man, that is just so cool. And I'm like, we'd love to have you as a guest on our podcast because we always drop your name and it's always positive stuff.
Yeah.
But this new Batman stuff coming out soon.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
It really does.
But it's neat when somebody
I wanna
reaches
see it
out
in
to you
flesh.
and like answers your, you know, your comment or whatever. I just think it's pretty
Yeah, when
cool.
Bernie died, we had a little bit of a back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's funny because he likes stuff too. You're like,
Yeah.
Kelly Jones is like that.
Yeah.
You know,
How'd that
it's like, you're like
Yeah.
my friend Kelly Jones, who I've never met ever before.
Well, you know what was funny? It said, this is a couple weeks ago, I look on my phone and it says, Kelly Jones has commented on your post.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I had just...
Screenshot.
Well, I had just... Yeah, that, but I mean, it was like, oh crap. I was like, I posted a drawing I did. I hope he doesn't destroy me. Like,
Hey, George, I thought you were really cool until I saw this.
Yeah, I was like,
I thought we were a kindred spirit till
I go there and it's his agreement and added comments to my review of the last Jurassic Park movie. I'm like, okay, that's great. Like,
It wasn't him telling you he was going to unfriend you.
this
Sorry,
picture
no more
offends
friends.
me.
You shaved
Your lack
the
of
value
ability.
off.
Disturbs me.
It's a good thing you own a comics shop.
Yeah, for real. But I missed it, y'all. You guys already talked about Ditko?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we weren't like
The one comment
officially
I
done,
made, the one comment I made, I think in here before though, it's like to us really, he has been dead because he's
but, well,
never
he disappeared.
because he
Yeah.
never availed himself.
Well, what's
I
funny
don't
is-
say that in a mean way. It's just that he made a conscious decision in his life that that's not what he was about, and is you know he followed a certain credo.
Yeah, but he did a lot of work up
Yeah.
till
Yeah.
what 80s and 90s. He was still doing a lot.
Squirrel Girl. I never realized because I never saw it. First story and origin of Squirrel Girl was drawn by Steve Ditko.
Thing is, in a world where Stan Lee is, I mean, for the last 10 years, he's pretty much been available. If you had any,
Right.
if you were a fan and you wanted to meet him, I think there'd be an argument
But now
that
you're
you
coming.
couldn't.
Now you're coming to find. I see some of these Stan Lees that look like black squiggles. You're coming to find
Sure.
there was a guy even within his mind that day when he signed
Right,
that thing.
but I guess
that's disturbing. to me.
My point is that he still gets as of a year ago, they said he gets $240,000 as a guarantee to come to a 3-day con. And if those are those numbers, and he's been to hundreds and hundreds of these things every weekend for 10 years, what do you think the number would be on Steve Ditko if 3 years ago they said, oh, hey, we make a deal with you? I mean,
$3 million.
$3 million?
Yeah, and I can tell you, it could be 10 million. He would have said no.
Yeah,
He would have said no.
yeah.
I can't figure out people like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what he does. I don't know how he makes a living. I don't know what.
I can't figure him out, but you know what? I respect it.
What are the chances that, as based on his decision making and I guess the way he decided to live his life, that he pulls a Willy Wonka Ready Player One type situation and has all of that artwork and has a way of making sure that it finds its way to the right place to someone who will truly value it and take care of it.
I think
and
that
do the right type of thing with it.
I think that falls out on thing that you told me about, and then I saw myself where there was a reporter going to talk to him, and you could see torn up pieces of Spider-Man art he was using.
He actually was using them for like cutting boards, things like that. I mean,
Wallpaper.
Yeah.
Somebody offered him like his original art back, and he's like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So, but that would have been cool.
He was a big Fountainhead, Ayn Rand. Read a lot. It was that philosophy of objectivism, and there's really no shade of gray, either right and wrong. I mean, it's just he lived his life. You know, I don't know. You know, that was his choosing, and that's what he believed in. You know, and it sent him down a path in the other direction from a lot of the populace, as in the majority of the populace, and that's what he chose. I mean, that's what he wanted to do, and you know, like I said, I respect it. But it did. He then secluded himself away from the world. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just I think it's interesting. I mean, I just think it's he's iconic and it's sort of quirky and weird, Howard Hughesian, kind of thing. But
Hughesian.
But to the same point, I think it also kind of worked in his favor if that's what he was trying to do.
Credibility.
Only because
Legitibility.
I feel like speak from someone from my age and my perspective. Even knowing the name, knowing his artwork, knowing everything that he's contributed, if you asked me right now to describe what the guy looked like, I couldn't tell you. Versus, I could tell you almost every defining feature about Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And so, if that was his choice, was to remain separate from the populace.
There's only 2 or 3 pictures out there.
I don't think that Stan Lee can walk down the street or could without having 100,000 people approach him.
But he's also, I think, a celebrity.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what I'm saying is I think that really helps. Ditko could have gone to go see the Doctor Strange movie to see his artwork.
Sure he did.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Just see his artwork on the screen and to see it come live, and no one would have known that he was there.
I don't think
old guy.
I don't think you have to be a shut-in though to do that because unless I met them in person, I couldn't identify any comic artist or writer in a lineup. I mean, maybe Alan Moore because remember they used to do the top 10 in Wizard.
I was just going to say that.
They'd show their pictures.
Because he looked like Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull.
Yeah. the founding fathers of Image. I mean, they were in my face every month in those magazines, but.
Yeah.
Well, the world became a picture world around that time, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wizard put pictures of it. I mean, it became a picture world.
Yeah, like I love Paul Ryan, and I don't know what he looked like. I met Rich Buckler 25 years ago, but I couldn't identify him in a lineup now, and so on. But well, moving on, let's just touch base here. There's just a couple notes that came out from Comic-Con that started Thursday, and then went through. We have. For any Star Wars fans, the Clone Wars animated series is kicking off again. They announced Iron Fist is getting a season 2, which surprised me because I thought the first season sucked. Maybe I'm in the minority, but
I doubt that you are.
It's okay.
It was so good.
Tim, you'll be happy to hear they announced there's a 90-minute Invader Zim animated film coming out.
Logan shared it
this
morning. Yep.
Did you see it?
I'm down with it.
And Robert Kirkman confirmed that Andrew Lincoln's leaving Walking Dead in this next season 9.
Who cares? Wow.
A little bit of haterade there you're drinking.
I dropped that freaking show like a hot potato. I got tired of the days of our zombies.
Did you watch the end of the last season? You didn't finish the season?
Yeah, this past season was really good.
Yeah, I really.
The season before that was terrible.
It was terrible.
Terrible.
When he gets thrown out of the window, and instead of picking up a gun and shooting Negan, he just runs away. Like when characters start acting against their best interests, that's when
I saw. You know what? I saw a clip of that. I know what I was. Maybe they were showing a rerun of it. I saw that clip, and I'm like.
Well, the big news on the
I'm glad I stopped watching.
The big news on the upcoming season is that they do a time jump. That this season starts between 2 and 4 years after the end of the last season.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
That might be interesting.
And I watched the trailer. I'm like, wow, there's like a significant difference here. And,
I was thinking of watching. Did Morgan jump to the Fear of the Walking Dead, like to tell his tale? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I sort of like that character. I might have some interest in that. But outside that, because Fear of the Walking Dead.
Yeah. I was like, these people are on $1 million boat, like in a lap of luxury, acting like life's hard. I'm like, stop it. But I had to give up on that show. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if it's 2 or 3 years or 4 years after that, like 4 years of having Negan in captivity or what. It's a little more interesting to me.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes. Did you guys touch on Fantastic Four return?
No.
Negative.
No.
All right. Is everybody excited about that?
No.
Oh man.
Wow.
That's not what I was expecting. So I was like, Tim, I think he's joking.
Well.
I can't really tell with Walls, and I know for a fact Gary's not interested at all.
I've become, I'm fearful because
Because the last 10 years, every time they tried to do one, it was terrible?
yeah, I'm fearful. I'm fearful.
Maybe back farther than 10 years.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm
Probably
fearful.
closer to 20. I bought from your store that Fantastic Four Unlimited. Remember that book? Oh, it was $4 in a world where comics were $1.25. And it was $3.95. No, that was
Jim Lee?
Reborn.
No, I think
okay.
Herb Trimpe was doing some kind of funky art during that.
Was it him that drew it? I didn't think it was him that did it, but it was terrible. Like, I mean, it was. I remember buying it, and
It's so bad I don't even remember it.
What was the series where it ran into where the Marvel zombies were created? That was in one of the Fantastic Four series. I had. those. The ones that have the gold along
Yeah,
the side. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was it Unlimited or?
Oh, wow.
That was Ultimate. It was Ultimate Fantastic Four.
Okay.
I read some. Those are pretty cool. I have the ones where the Marvel
Ultimate
Zombies.
I
Fantastic
kind
Four
of checked
was
out at that
good.
point.
Yeah.
But the Ultimate
No,
Universe
that's the
was
last
pretty
thing I
good.
remember being even decent about it.
You know,
it was good.
For me, what happened was the
For
regular
those
series,
characters.
it had ups and downs. Like, I know you guys are a big Walt Simonson fan. I hated his work on Fantastic Four. I mean, I just hated it.
Oh, I love Walt, but I can
Yeah,
see
if-
I can
yeah.
see where somebody would be like,
Well, if they were announcing that he was the new artist, you'd be like, I wouldn't be excited.
Yeah, no. And I didn't like the way he drew the Thing. I didn't like the way he drew Stretch when he was Stretch. Like, I just thought it was terrible. But it's still, you're collecting because it's the numbers and you're going through the thing. And I really like that. Then all of a sudden they wanted to redo it and drop the numbers, which just let all the air out of my sails. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm done.
I'll be honest with you. The classics to me were the only ones worth even. The whole Kirby run, the first 100 books are great.
Well, that was 20 years before I was born, so
But they're great.
The Byrne
yeah.
run is spectacular. John Byrne.
Well, for me, the Paul Ryan stuff, and then the girl that was doing X-Men with coloring, her name was Gina Going. She started doing the coloring, and the books just popped. And that was right where the Infinity War, when they were doing the Infinity War crossovers. And I really liked it. Then they end it, and they want to reboot it with the Heroes Reborn with Jim Lee. I hated that the numbers stopped, and then to compound that, the book that came out was horrible. And then they just kept rebooting it, and after a while, by the time they got to Ultimate Fantasy 4, I was like, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I guess
like this.
I'll speak for myself, but I'm just very leery. Because this, was it Dan Slott? Is that his name?
Yeah.
And Sarah, I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Priscilla.
I have no idea. I don't know where we're going to go with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's actually very talented.
Because unless they're going to do something that's really earth-changing, you know, sort of like the Alan Moore and Swamp Thing or something like that, come up with something new, I don't hold high hopes on any of this stuff.
You know,
What if they do a Dazzler crossover event?
Yeah, that'll...
what if R.J. Fletcher from Channel 8 News shows up?
Maybe
You know what?
it could work.
One thing I do like, though, is I think there's some momentum with the Marvel 2-in-1. I like that book. I think it's been going pretty well.
Well, and it's telling a story of leading up to their introduction.
Yeah, so at least it's feeding into that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not.
I guess no one's had a handle on the FF for a long time, so I'm not, you know, excited about it. I'd love to be surprised. We're just talking about the Immortal Hulk, which is something we haven't talked about on the podcast. Interesting, because the Hulk is supposed to be dead. And the Immortal Hulk is, if you've read the first, I've only read 2, they say 3's interesting. Have you read it at all?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, because, well, he's not dead.
Yeah.
He didn't die. Hawkeye didn't kill him.
Surprise, surprise.
And Banner says in there and stuff, I hope it's not a spoiler, but he said, I just want to know if I could die. And that's why he was shot with the arrow.
Oh.
But he's not. And
But like I'm saying, I'm telling you, that was revisited in that Banner story. It was the same thing.
The only Hulk I've ever read, is this a good time to be honest?
Versus thing.
The only Hulk books I ever read was Planet Hulk.
Planet Hulk.
Planet
I
Hulk.
read that, but prior to that, the only books I ever read were books that picked up the second half of a Hulk thing fight. It was never my jam. I just couldn't get onto it.
He's a
Sorry.
thing guy.
But the FF, we'll just wait and see what they do with it.
What do you guys think has been the downfall of the FF books? Like, why is it that they've been so bad?
I think that they get away from what made it great, and in my opinion, that is this family dysfunction. Where at the end of the day, these people, they're not just teammates; they love each other. Ultimately, there's no separating. Like, you know what I mean? You can, like, the idea, especially in a context of 1960s and 70s, the idea is that these people are a family, and they're going to fight and they're going to argue, but they still love each other. And so
And
there's
Johnny
no,
would run away for a while, but he always came
yeah,
back.
there's no breaking up. Like at the end of the day, Captain America and Hawkeye can have an argument, and he can be kicked out of the team or what. Like there's nothing. There's
That
no
doesn't
time.
happen with the Fantastic Four.
It doesn't. And so
That was the point that I was going to make because, again, I'm younger, but I remember when Civil War originally came out, and the biggest jaw drop in the whole Marvel Civil War was when Sue Storm leaves that note on Reed Richards' nightstand, we're gone, and it was like, whoa, what just happened here? The Fantastic Four is no longer the Fantastic Four,
right.
So is that a problem in other books as well, where they kind of lose the central focus on who the characters are and what makes them great? Is that when we see books die?
X-Men, they just crank out 17 different X-Men books and then water it down and take the components that made one
I
book
don't know how
great.
people even read the X-Men.
Yeah, I have people that collect every title, and they're irritated about it, but they're completists. And,
They're
I
here.
think they do it like this.
the thing about Fantastic Four 2 is that the Thing, who's probably my favorite character in comics,
Artist
is
is doing Spider-Man.
such a tragic figure. Like, he's a
That
sympathetic
artist is doing
character.
Spider-Man.
And so that's kind of my thing. I don't know. I like him a lot,
good.
and I think there's other books that are probably deviated way off base from what they should be, but none that I care about as much. So I don't take quite as personally.
Yeah, there's nothing about the FF in the past 25 years that people have talked about. So that just shows you right there. People want to like this. They want to like the return of the FF. There's just nothing to get excited
It's the
about.
flagship title. I mean, you didn't have the FF.
Well,
you
on
wouldn't have all this
on
stuff
another
around.
note,
Spider-Man's been around just as long, and
Right.
he's in the news every other
He's still, yeah.
storyline. You're like,
Because
oh,
they
this is so cool.
Yeah,
You know what I
18
mean?
But they never lose focus on who Spider-Man is.
Right. And that's and to
they did it for a little bit.
to the defense, like I said, I've always liked Superman. I don't read it continually, but he's got a great cast. You know, with Lois and Jimmy Olsen and the Bugle and all that kind of stuff. There's, you know, the Mom, Paul Kent, great cast, supporting cast, and that's what the FF is. They're their own supporting cast.
Yeah.
But they can't seem to get. And then you start bringing in, you know, the Super Sons and all that kind of stuff. And was it Franklin Richard?
Yeah.
When you start bringing that, and he becomes superhero, then you bring in Herbie the and you're like, oh,
Future
Well,
Foundation.
I think maybe
She
that,
thing.
Maybe
you
the
can just
thing-
see the wheels coming off
Thanks for coming,
quickly
Peter.
Yeah.
because people want to try something new, and they do something new just to do something new, and you're like, nobody wants this.
The
And
thing,
I don't get it.
The thing that makes it great too, I think, can also be its downfall. Because, like you just said, Spider-Man is Spider-Man, but sometimes the Spider-Man book's not as good because of the tertiary characters. And you know, if he's married to Mary Jane versus just being a high school kid, and you know, and it being Gwen Stacy and all that, but it's just him. With the Fantastic Four, you have 4 characters that you have to keep who they are, and also the way they interact. Like, their dynamic has to remain the same, and I think that can be challenging and limiting if you're not somebody that's good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I wouldn't pretend to be, but I think there's a lot of people that have gotten the book that think, oh, there's 4 people with powers. They're not really exploring that part. Like, that's what I always liked about it, is it was the family first and the powers second,
Yeah.
and then it was more on the line because it wasn't just my teammate that's getting hurt; it's my brother, or you know what I mean. It's
I feel like that's also across the pond with DC. Why the Teen Titans and Titans have always done so well. Maybe even in comparison to the Justice League, because Justice League kind of focuses on powers first, friendship and partnership second, and the Titans have always been this core group of friends first that had, like, you know, they had something they could symbolize with each other of all having been sidekicks and what that means, and so that kind of unified them as well. And especially in a lot of their books where you see like the Judas Contract and other things, it comes back to that family first element. And for me, they've never lost that, which is why I think that that's gone so strong for so long. So why is it that people that get involved with Fantastic Four books can't seem to recognize that?
What's
Sure.
the well, you said it, it's Teen Titans. They're all teenagers. They're all
Yeah.
going through this together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why. And I've been very vocal. I'm not into the Avengers. I'm not in Justice League.
You're not a team. You're not a team guy.
Well, the X-Men, sure, because they're all mutants.
right.
You know, it's us against the world.
A
Or the world
unity
against
of some
us.
kind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the Avengers makes no sense to me whatsoever. When you have Black Widow and Thor fighting together, it makes no sense whatsoever. When you have Batman and Superman, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
None.
Well,
It's never.
Like X-Men, like for me, New Warriors growing up, it's like they were the teenage guys there and girls. It's them against the world. That's the best
Yeah.
way in the world to put it.
Right.
And,
Right.
And they had a common theme, a common goal or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And that was
Yeah,
your
yeah.
jam.
Reed
it
Richards
was
will
my
save.
jam, dude. Don't stop.
Were you a big
I'm
New
already
Warriors fan?
rolling, man. I'm replaying that
What?
story in my
You a
head.
New Warriors fan?
Dude, I don't get. Real short. The summer of 1991, I get a Fantastic Four. I believe it was number 365.
Somebody
and
bring the music in.
The New Warriors. the New Warriors are in the book, right? Now I'm reading just Fantastic Four because I'm like 12 or 13.
Incredible Hulk.
I'm reading FF. And New Warriors are in it, and I'm like, holy crap! It says in the back of this book that New Warriors has their own comic. So I call
Flashback. music.
Gary at his comic store. I'm like, sir,
bring the
do they
music
have a
up.
New Warriors
Da-da-da-da.
comic? He's like, yes. Number 4 just
Dun,
came out. I
dun,
went,
dun.
I need number 1. He said, number 1 and number 2 have sold out. It's a pretty hot
Dun,
book.
dun, dun.
So then I go to the yellow ad in the back of the comics. Colorado. Mile High Comics.
Mile High.
Yeah.
I call Mile High Comics. Do you have a copy of New Warriors #1? They do. It's $28 plus $5 to ship it. $32. I'm getting paid $5 a week to mow the yard, like my neighbor's yard. So I spend the whole summer saving to buy this book. 32
line
bucks.
Chuck
It
Rosinski's
shows
pockets.
up. I have it in my hands, and I remember the bottom pages having the little holes in them, like the paper ream deal. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is this still mint? Because I paid $32 for it, but I was happy, and I ended up collecting them all. Fast forward to about 6 or 7 years ago, I'm at a Comic-Con, and I had thought about it because the series ended, years and years and years ago. And I said, "Do you guys have New Warriors?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have #1?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Where would it be?" He goes, "Oh, I got a bunch of them in the dollar bin." So he had 10 of them. So I bought all 10 of them for $10. That way, I own 11 copies for $42 instead of one copy for $32. Just, I don't know. I was like, you know what? I can buy all these books and they're mine. So I left with all those books. But yeah, to answer your question, I am. Then when I saw Ron Friend,
You are what? You are what?
A New Warriors fan.
What was the
a
question?
huge
New
New
Warriors
Warriors
fan.
fan. See my Speedball sketch up there?
I was going to ask you who
I'm
your
also-
favorite was. I was going to say Speedball.
No, he's not. That's just the fourth one I got. I got Marvel Boy, Speedball, Kid Nova, and Firestar, and Ron Friends has drawn each one of them for me.
No Namorita,
the next one,
wow.
the next one's Namorita, and then the one after that's Night Thrasher, and then Rage, and then Silhouette. That'd be the whole run.
In that order.
Speedball or Penance? Which one do you like?
Speedball, Ditko.
What?
Speedball, yeah.
Speedball.
There you
I
go.
like Penance more than Speedball.
Yeah.
Hey, you missed the Ditko. That's
Yeah.
Listen,
Speedball,
dude, that
yeah,
armor.
Speedball.
Ditko had a hand in creating that character.
Did he?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have his first. I have
Thank-
Speedball's first appearance.
I thought I thought that was him.
Wow.
I could be mistaken. Speedball's first appearance was in
Revelations.
Spectacular Spider-Man Annual 5, I believe.
Yeah, what's so cool about a guy who's never met?
Huh?
Nothing.
What's happening here? I can go back and listen to it. You're like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. I'll just hear it later and be enraged by myself.
Just move along.
All right. Anyway.
What about the True Believer books?
Yes.
They're sitting in front of us.
Yeah. I know I'm a huge fan of all the True Believer stuff. I think it's
Yep.
awesome. Great way to get a hold of it.
Can't go wrong with $1, man. Jeez.
Yeah. They did it with Wolverine stuff. They did it with Venom
Glossy,
stuff, with
nice
Captain
paper.
America. And
Doesn't smell like the attic.
Good ball.
But there again,
There's
they're
a
like the
segue,
Masterworks, where they're
can
on
afford
the
them.
new they're on the shiny stuff, so it's not going to be it's not going to look like
There's
the
a segue
original.
because they also did all those for Venom. And that book,
Yeah.
I think,
Dig
right
a hole,
now,
leave them
is
outside
the
for a few
cream of the
weeks,
crop.
Come back.
Venom?
Marvel
Just
Universe.
look awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to see here's some. How about you guys? Do these True Believers and color them with modern, to make them more dimensional and everything else, as opposed to the flat colors and stuff that were colored.
I like how they redid Hard Boiled last year.
Yeah, with that.
Dave Stewart.
Yeah, would
That
that
would be
would you guys
interesting.
be interested in that? Like here's FF112 in front of us. Instead of coloring it just like it was back then, really
Updated.
get into it, computer color it. Now I'm not talking about changing any of the artwork on it, the
Yeah.
black line stuff, at all. But just go in there
That'd be
and
pretty great.
shape, put, it's like hey,
Shading stuff.
well, it's one of those things where here's the colors of the characters. Other than that, have at it.
Yeah.
The time.
And bring it, one of the
That'd
top,
be
top
really
cool.
guys in.
That'd be cool.
I would wonder that.
What's it, Dave Stewart, the guy that does Hellboy and a lot of the stuff. Bring him in there and say, just color it the way you want to, and see what he does.
I can
That'd
see
be
that
pretty
being
cool.
successful because just in other mediums right now, remasters are huge. And I mean, whether that be digital remasters of older movies like Star Wars and some of those, or right now in the video game industry, there's a giant market for remasters where they don't necessarily even change some of the artwork or some of the graphic designs. They just really brush it up so that it looks a lot better today. And that stuff sells like hotcakes.
When I look though at work that hasn't been touched up yet, like new stuff, like the Fantastic Four page from the new one was a perfect example of how plain that looked. I think the artists have to leave more room for that type of work nowadays, and I wonder if you go back to here where the detail. I mean, I wonder how much of that you can really do. I think if this was drawn today, and that's what they were going for, none of that might have even been in there. Like all this, they would have just left that blank because then the shading could have.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wonder how much of that could be successful. Sure can on some books,
Yeah,
but
with Photoshop today, I don't know.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. That's like when Spawn last month or the month before had 9 different colorists do the books, and those were all really neat.
I'll test that theory.
Huh?
I said that
You
book
can
is
test
still
that
killer,
theory.
man.
Yes, it
Just
is.
do
I
small.
want my friends
Did you read this?
scan a page and
That's-
then
Oh, yeah.
touch it up. That does graphic design.
Yeah, that'd be
See what it
cool.
looks like.
Talk
would be
about
cool.
dark.
Take a cool bottle of
Let's see
Tell
this
you
book.
what.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get one of my buddies to do that. We'll figure it
Guy's
out.
art fits it though. That's the thing. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
That'd be rad.
Jason.
The story. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That is so great.
George Costanza.
What's funny, I wonder too. I guess by
See
and
what
large,
you did
there's a lot of places in the country where people buy comic books and might not have access to back issues on the regular because some of these FF books that are $1 came out. I mean, I guess it's a while ago, but like the Walt Simonson book, I got it over there, and it's $1.50 for the original one.
Well, up
In
until 2
mint.
years ago, I had to go to Hagerstown to get back issues.
Yeah,
Don't have to do that.
Yeah,
anymore.
but it's just it's just highlighting points in their history. It's bound to happen because there were cool parts where they just weren't that expensive. They were printed a lot, and it wasn't. Everybody's reading it, but
Sure.
they're not. It's not. Well, for instance, Tim and I were talking about Spawn. I mean, the reason why that is limited print run. That's why they're so hard to get a hold of because it was smaller print run.
yeah,
Those books were there were a lot of FFs being printed.
yeah.
But not the elusive FF that has my rating on the inside and stencil cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom and
number.
dad's phone number that still exists. That is that's a true rarity.
That's a
You know what I'm
true,
saying?
that's a true believer right there.
That's the original true believer.
Yeah.
One of the cool things with being
Saying
live is we can actually take a quick break. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Just to let everybody know, okay? We'll be right back. And I think of Jimmy Fallon going, and we're back!
Yeah. Live and live audience.
How's the Infinity? Is it the Infinity War? What's it called? It's Infinity War. The one coming up.
The comic?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody ordered it.
Nice.
Marvel?
I did. Diodado's doing the artwork.
Oh, yeah, you did. I ordered two.
Better get back
One for
online
you
check
and one
that
in
out.
case yours is damaged.
Yeah.
Better check
So you
that
can
out.
tell us how it works out.
Yeah, just in case it's
Really?
damaged, like that never happens.
Yeah, no. The word I've gotten on the street being right here when people come in, is
Stately.
Street. The word I've gotten on Stately Street from the old people selling their crap out across the street and taking up my parking is that Marvel
How are you
has
going to unwrap that?
burned through all of their political capital. Like
Yeah.
nobody, they're like, nope, I'll wait. It's like, first of all, it's not going up. Second of all, you're gonna have 1 million copies left over. Third, they're gonna go to a trade. Like I'm not tied to this in any way, shape, or form. I'll just wait and see how it all plays out because they're gonna erase whatever they do in 6 months anyway. That's the attitude. I was like, okay.
Yeah, but isn't that with all books?
I guess you just look though. Civil War II was horrible. Like I had 8 people, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but 8 people that were buying that book when it started, and by issue 4, all of them bailed. They're like, I don't even need to finish it.
Well, I'm not being defensive because I'm the only person in Allegheny County that ordered it. But, let's be real. The Infinity Gauntlet came out in the 80s.
Well, and let's clarify. I'm the only one in Allegheny County that ordered it. You're the only one that's going to pay for one.
Ouch!
Bazinga!
How's that for your legitimacy right
But
there?
seriously, to argue against that, you're like, well, they change stuff all the time.
Yeah.
We just talked about a new FF where we're excited about it, and we're kind of apprehensive about it. But
Well,
doesn't mean I'm not going to read
I'm
it.
still going to get
Right.
those 4
Well,
cool
And I don't know why people wouldn't read the Infinity War, considering
Still
the movie
down
was
on
absolutely
that.
spectacular. Why wouldn't people segue from the movie into a new series?
People are
based
still
upon-
crying over Spider-Man.
Hey, I wish more people felt that way. But
I
other
can't
than
believe they don't. I don't get it.
other than Deadpool, there's no other movie that has played into bigger sales.
This.
Not one. Doctor Strange, they ran it out. They did like 4 or 5 different mini things. I didn't sell any of that stuff.
Wonder
of
Woman?
it.
Wonder Woman?
They let
No.
me start
They had a
right.
Wonder Woman Day, and
That's what I mean. I mean, they didn't really.
Yeah.
it did, when we did Wonder Woman Day, like the
I
way
will
it
tell
goes.
you, I'm wondering though because if they keep the same
Wonder Woman.
artists, the writer and artist on Venom, with that movie coming out.
Oh,
Right.
Stegman?
Yeah, they keep Ryan Stegman on it. I think his coach is right. I guess Costa's right.
Yeah.
If you keep that team on that book right now and just let it soar into the movie, I guarantee it. Well, Venom is always sold anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it was a stagnation in that title. Well, that book. That's why I think that book. The reason I think that book is successful is they're telling a different angle on the symbiotes that still doesn't destroy the fact that Peter Parker still wore that, connected with that same suit. It doesn't destroy anything. They're just providing more history about, because we already know that there's a planet of them. There's plenty more of them. We know all that, but they're just adding other little pieces of history, and I think it's a cool book. I think more people. I don't know how the movie's going to do. I've seen clips. I think it's going to be okay. I think that could propel it sort of on a Deadpool-like level.
I think when it comes to
Maybe.
like pop culture in general, the entertainment business, no matter what you're talking about, as soon as something hits and works, everybody jumps on that style of doing it, trying to make something like that come about.
Sure.
And so lately, I think the Amazing Spider-Man series, that wasn't backed by a movie. There was no outside anything. It was just good, and everybody was digging it. And word of mouth built that book up to where Marvel sold more copies of 800 than they'd sold of any book in like the last 5 or 6 years. And it's all based on it just being good. So I'm hoping that the new paradigm for them is tell a really good story and let it play out over the course of 6 or 7 months and build it to a crescendo. And I'm thinking, man, won't it be great if they do that for Infinity War, for Fantastic Four? Maybe that's the angle. Venom, keep the guy on it that's doing well, and and build it up.
Well, I'm surprised with you guys because Deodato's doing this.
And that's how
his work with
they
Old
got
Man
their
Logan
inspiration
was just
from one of the best
it's some of the best
movies.
work I've seen in years.
Period.
So I'm surprised you guys aren't on board with this because I've seen some preview pages of this, and plus Thanos is in it. And you're like, wow, this could be very interesting.
Well, we haven't talked about this at all. Did you see the preview art for The Return of Wolverine?
No.
You didn't. It was like the first 2 pages of that Marvel Slick book that comes out. That's pretty killer.
It's McNiven.
It's McNiven.
McNiven who did one of the
Oh, okay.
That's-
Monsters,
I
mean,
Monsters Leash. I bet him. I got my book
Oh, he
signed.
did Civil
Besides
War.
Old Man
that's
Logan, I haven't bought many Wolverines
Nemesis.
in the past 10 years. I'm on board with that
He's-
because I like
he's
his stuff.
He's
Yeah.
an
Like you
incredible
say.
art. He's
Yeah.
an incredible
Yes,
artist.
yes,
yeah.
And he's a cool guy too. I got to meet
Yeah.
him. He's a super cool guy.
Yeah, but there again, we're talking about Wolverine coming back.
Yeah,
and
but
it's like, what a
my
mess.
thing with Wolverine-
Now what do you do with Old Man Wolverine? Here we go. We got
I
a mess
just-
now.
Well, let's just have
Wolverine
him
as a
fight it out.
character's never
you know?
been much for me anyway. I mean, the Old Man Logan stuff was cool. He's a cool character, but I'm like,
There must be
Old Man Logan was spectacular.
the people that dug Wolverine in the 90s and early 2000s, they must all be falling by the wayside because I have tons of it.
You do.
I
think
can
you just play it
I
out.
can put together Marvel Comics Presents 1 to 100 and whatever 30 something.
Oh, same
I can
key.
put that set together complete probably 3 times in here right now. Yeah.
I got the Venom 2,
What are you gonna do?
25 variant that keep it.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm not much for big
I
crossovers,
did a
but
guy,
Deodato's doing
offer
the artwork, and I'll give it.
said,
Sure.
okay.
Oh, absolutely. Because like I said, that stuff in Old Man Logan was just mind blowing.
I'll
it's very,
pull,
very
I'll pull New
very
Warriors.
innovative.
You know, I'll have to be calling Mile High and getting it like George did. If I have to have it. I'll be going to mow some grass.
Staple holes in it.
I need speedball.
Yeah. Well,
Chuck
I mean, I would have
was-
ordered more, but I personally got burned bad on that Civil War II thing because those cover prices were $5.99, like for each issue, and you ordered 2 months ahead, and I'm like, okay, well, a couple of people said they don't want this. You still got to order a few to continue the series because somebody's going to want it. And I mean, I ended up moving them for $1 a piece at some sale, and I had $3.50 in each one of them, and I mean, you're talking probably at the end of the day, 35 or 40 copies over the next 4 issues of stuff that it's like, so as cool as that is, if somebody's not saying I want it, I'm, just
You lost some.
got to pick and
You lost
choose.
a little bit of money.
Yeah. What are you
Speaking
gonna
on new stuff, did you read
read these
pick up the new
characters?
Cosmic Ghost Rider?
I haven't read the first one yet.
Okay.
Any
Just
good?
wondered. It's interesting.
I know the art's not to my liking.
Yeah, the art, I was kind of like womp womp in the art.
I
still kind of
I
funny.
think the idea of the
It's still-
Cosmic Ghost Rider
it's still
is
kind of
womp
funny,
womp.
though.
What's
Yeah,
Sean doing?
That's a
What's
womp
Sean
womp if I've ever
doing?
heard one.
I haven't seen anything that he's doing.
I don't know.
Jeff Shaw, the guy who did Thanos. That was great artwork.
Yeah.
Constant
And-
Ghost Rider.
I was a big fan of his in Star Wars before that.
Right, but I haven't seen
Muslim
his name come up on anything. Maybe he's working
Yeah,
on
that's what I
something.
Yeah, Frank Castle.
Because I was hoping he would
They did
segue
like
into.
chuckle.
They did like a
Yeah.
Thanos
Ghost
where it was
Rider,
like
but he
old
didn't.
man Thanos, with
That
young
would've been
Thanos.
cool.
and yeah.
I just think it's a kooky character. I enjoy it.
Yeah, but
It's
it
funny.
was, but it was comic relief to Thanos, which is a very serious.
what I was-
Right. Yeah.
The last, 10 issues of that are real serious.
Yeah.
I mean, real serious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Cage.
How
the Hulk.
serious?
Oh man.
real
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, yeah.
You heard
That's
it.
what
Yeah,
sold me
yeah.
on. That's what made me.
It's like everybody's
Yeah,
podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
I just got into that about 2 weeks ago, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
finally understood.
Funny how
what you
everybody
guys
has a
talking
very
about.
specific character within the confines of the podcast, because you guys said about the art not being good. Gary said it's not to my liking, and you said, wah, wah.
And I'm just like,
You're welcome.
Well, because I don't read books for comedy, as you guys know. So
Right.
that's,
You're
I
kidding.
can't
Another thing we're
believe
painfully
it.
well aware of.
I can't believe it.
is this real life?
The look on Austin's face.
seriously.
Oh,
I am
that's
serious.
good.
Don't call me
So then,
serious.
would you be upset if?
Never mind. But what about a book like, and I'm just
Thought it'd
making
be a good
conversation,
crossover.
throwing it out there,
Kills the
but
Green
if you
Lantern
don't read a book
before.
for comedy, what about like Too Much Coffee Man? There's no way you read that book for the art.
I like Shannon Wheeler's art.
Oh, it's genius. It's.
I love Shannon
milk and
Wheeler's art.
cheese.
In fact, I
man.
was going to wear the shirt this morning.
Milk and cheese.
Oh, I think
Have you seen the Deadpool movies?
No,
Shannon
Okay.
Wheeler's
Really?
art.
most of the first one.
Okay, there's a reason I asked. We were on the talking about crossovers earlier, and I've been having this idea in my head for a long time of how great it would be if Ryan Reynolds wrote a Deadpool kills the Green Lantern Corps comic book. Like
Yeah.
that could just be the funniest thing in the world, especially with all the fourth wall breaking. Would you read that book for the comedy?
Probably.
Make it happen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Amalgam Comics.
Snap
Yeah,
your
the movies
fingers.
and stuff. I no problem with funny
Oh
movies
yeah,
that are
the
funny.
fun poking in that movie was great,
And that's why I think that could be done.
and
very
it was
well
tongue in cheek,
comic.
and it was okay.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I enjoyed that movie about as much. That's what she said.
I actually enjoyed the.
I enjoyed
And
that
of course-
movie about as much as the Avengers.
Well, the irony of
Yeah.
Cosmic
Maybe
Ghost Rider being
a
Frank
slightly
Castle
more.
is that's classic, just right there.
You know,
Yeah.
just holding his head out, like, what do you think? Oh, yeah, well, I don't know. Tell me, what do you think? You know, just cracked me up.
It's just a nut.
On the other hand,
On the other hand,
yeah, where do you go from there?
that's what I was trying to figure out myself there.
I got a thing.
Are we?
Austin, Austin's got a
I
thing.
have a thing.
I got a thing.
Okay.
What's your thing, Austin?
thing.
Yeah. What exactly is your thing?
Comic Con is my thing,
Okay.
and the difference between international Comic Con and smaller cons. We had a little bit of a discussion before the show started about them revealing the lineup of who's going to be attending,
Sure.
Which you can't find.
which you can't find. And I think the point that I was making towards
You
it
can't
is
go. So what's it about?
International Comic Con has become more of a celebration of pop culture entirely than it has of comic book culture.
And we see that, like I said, even in Baltimore, you'll see people spend $35 and they get all dressed up, as Ghostbusters, and you don't see them buying any comic
Hey,
books.
busting ghosts.
All
don't
day
buy
long,
book.
they're doing cosplay. They have nothing. They don't want anything to
and,
do
and,
with the.
and so there's half of that with the cosplay culture, but I think the bigger thing for International Comic Con, like something I picked up on maybe back in like 2010, starting there, when TV shows like The Walking Dead and other ones, even that have nothing to do really with comic books, True Blood and some other ones really start showing up and doing their panels, and when Hall H became the biggest part of Comic Con, like who's going to drop the new reveal and the trailer and the teaser, I think it detracted from the actual comic book side of things.
Well, I love it that I can get in line for some of my favorite artists, and I'm only in line
For
15
5 minutes.
We're talking about back in '86 and '87 when I talk about the Mid-Ohio Con.
Yes, sir.
McFarlane, Sienkiewicz, Miller. These lines are incredible. I mean, you might have been in line for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours just to get one signature.
Yeah.
So I'm a little fearful of the fact that people are now coming to shows and don't care about the artists.
Yeah.
And that the comic book selection for back issues is getting older and older, because I can't tell you how old school I am when it comes to conventions. So when it comes to pop culture, that's all cool, and obviously it's selling out, and I don't even know what the attendance is. It's got to be
130,000.
Stupid.
crazy. But there again, and the big word, the underlining word of that whole con is international.
Yeah.
This isn't Baltimore, New York. This
It's
is
a big boy.
international. So people come from all over the world for this.
Yeah.
And that's what's, to celebrate that is cool. I have no problem with how popular that con has become.
Neither do I. think
My cousin
it's
Mike's
beautiful.
gone to
It's
San
just
Diego
changing.
at least
It's
3
changing.
times.
Yeah.
But he said it's crazy. He said tickets. He said the last time he said the tickets were sold out in 3 minutes, and he buys the whole pack. He's there for
Yeah,
the whole time.
it happens very.
He
very,
buys
very
for, he
quickly.
buys the whole. He goes out for the whole thing. He really enjoys it. And,
It's wild.
I think as long as the cons, which surprising, because you're talking about, we'll go back to me. You're ordering 2 copies of Infinity Wars, but yet you go to the Baltimore Comic Con. There's just people all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets pretty crowded.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
I have the option in, it's like March, they do a thing where you can, if you have a Diamond account and you have a physical store, you can get 1 ticket for each person that is listed as an owner. And so, like, on paper, my wife and I own this, so I would be in a position where I could buy 2 tickets. But first of all, they're insane. It's, I mean, to go there for the whole time, it's like $350 to get in for the whole thing.
For what?
For San Diego Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It's like $350. So for me to get 2 tickets would be like $700. They're also stamped with our names, so they're not transferable. I thought, well, at $350, if I buy one and then you eBay it, you sell it for $1,000 because there's people that pay all kinds of money, but it's my name as a dealer,
Yeah.
so there's nowhere to go from there. I can think of few things that would be less fun than taking my wife to San Diego to go through that con.
I'll put on a wig.
You know.
I got this. If the Wayne's brothers could do it in White Chicks, I got it for San Diego
Yeah.
Comic Con.
Wow. I find your offer unsettling. That all said, I mean, it would be really fun, but at the same time, anybody I've talked to that's actually done it says, you better pick the 3 things you want more than anything because you stand in line the whole time. You're shoulder to shoulder all the time, and there's less and less comic books all the time. And there was a guy that was in here saying that somebody that was a buddy of his that wrote for some website went and sat in front of that Hall H
Yeah.
like 2 days before the thing started, and he still didn't get in.
So, for comic fans, like how you guys go to Baltimore Comic Con, for the artists,
In 69
Full cons.
days.
I feel like it's getting to the point with International Comic Con where it's going to start being better for comic fans to go because most people are doing what you just said about your friend's buddy. Most people are camped out outside of Hall H just trying to get in.
And this was just for previews.
And just this is I'm
Yeah.
kidding you not, this is just for
But
panels
that you
and
can probably
previews.
see on 2 days. And
Well, it's the previews,
YouTube.
but it's also
It's
usually
also
the
the
previews
panels.
introduced by, like for
Yeah.
example, when Logan came out, Hugh Jackman walked out on the stage in front of everyone
Or-
and introduced the
what did he
trailer.
bring? Is he going to talk to me?
Yeah, no.
when they
Not
announced
In fact, as I understand it, he's going to do his
Not
best
anymore.
to ignore you,
if,
Gary.
if it's real quiet, all of a sudden you stand up and go,
Hey, Kramer,
"Oh, Mr.
come on."
Jackman!
I
Oh,
think-
Mr. Jackman!"
for some, I guess it's the whole idea of, the hype factor and saying they're part of it.
Well, Mr.
Like,
Roth.
I know someone who was there in Hall H when when the Avengers cast came out for the first time. And I'll never be able to have that experience. I don't want to punch him in the face every time he talks about it. Because he's like, yeah, dude, I was there. And then Robert Downey Jr. walks out. And then this person walks out. And then this person walks out.
How old is he?
25.
That's why. See,
Yeah.
there is literally no human being on this planet, and maybe because I'm in my 40s, there's nobody that's walking up on a stage, if I'm in a room of 3,000 people, to talk for a minute, that I'm going through the BS that it would take to get in that room.
That's what I'm saying. Does he bring me a sandwich? I mean, is he give me a foot massage? I have no interest.
Breaking
I have no
news,
interest.
Gary
Yeah.
wants a foot massage from Tony Stark.
Yeah, I have no
Well, that
interest.
guy came with a sandwich a couple
With
weeks
or
ago.
without the armor?
But I do appreciate the
all with.
enthusiasm.
Sure, for
because,
sure.
without people standing in line, if people just, about 10 people mingled in, and Robert Downey Jr. walks out, it's like, I can understand the.
Well, I think
how that would
it's
go.
also a thing of, they bring out the panel, they do a Q&A, so there are so many fans that do get to ask questions, and then it's kind of like a good opportunity for the fans to interact. But I don't think it's
There's-
worth it enough either.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of...
guess I've become
a lot
much
of
more
middle ground.
patient in my old age.
Yeah.
Much more patient when this kind of stuff is. Sort of like the trade paperbacks, You're talking about maybe Infinity World. They're already set up, they're already selling the trade paperback, and number one's not even out.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, maybe I'll just wait and see how it goes.
And you know what I think part of that might be? I mean, tell me if you disagree, but I see that too, and I think what it is when you're younger and you don't have any, like you're in high school and middle school and even college, like you don't have anything else to do but keep up with the Joneses, your buddies. You're staying on top of what your friends are doing. It's like, I got to read this now before Dave reads it and gives it away, or we got to get to it first. We don't have that anymore. We like at the end of the day, there's nobody that's you're sitting down with lunch 5 days a week that's going to start giving stuff away or be the one that got it before you did. There's a certain urgency to that collection that's not there anymore. And we can all kind of...
Well, I know I want to see Deadpool 2, but I didn't have to see it the first day it came out.
Right.
And I still haven't seen it, but I'll see it eventually. So for me, the urgency is gone. Now, don't get me wrong, there's comic books that come out that I wanted to read yesterday. They don't come out till next week.
Right.
Because the storyline's so good.
Yeah.
I think it depends on just
I'm with you on that.
how invested you are into it.
I'll tell you something I really liked, and that was how on Twitter they destroy the people that gave the girl that played Rose a hard time in the Star Wars movie. Like,
Yeah.
It's one thing if you don't like her character, but starting to attack her because of her race or whatever, just all that stuff. It's this idea that we're in this nerd culture, and for a long time, I never knew anybody that knew who Thanos was, for example. And then all of a sudden it blows up on the scene. And all the cool kids that were giving us a hard time, generally speaking, now are trying to get in on it. And as soon as they try to bring their as soon as they try to bring their baggage, though, as soon as they try to bring their ridicule and their pointing finger and their the stuff that a lot of us gravitated towards this to get away from that judgment, they try to bring that to the mix, and it's like, no, that's not how that's working.
Did I not explain all of that to you guys? Like, when I was in middle school, and I would, like, go to school with my Captain America t-shirt on or something like that, and kids would tell me how gay I was or stupid or whatever the case was for reading comic books or being a fan of that stuff. And then we get to high school, and in my junior and senior year of high school, all these kids have on Spider-Man book bags and this and that, now that it was the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
I would go to football practice, and I'd have a target on people's head, because I was like, oh, now that you've like broken into our culture and you're now disgracing and belittling and things like that, I'm definitely taking it personally.
Sure.
And I just wish everyday life could be like football practice sometimes, because it's the same thing. Like, some of these things that we take personally, that we have invested in.
Dude, I never liked football practice that much.
Oh, no, I only like to, listen, smashing people's heads off is like a personal passion of mine.
Yeah,
Going back to the
but
San
you're
Diego.
angry and violent.
You're damn right. If I didn't have a bad knee, I'd try to probably get into what you do.
A couple years ago, I'm leaving the Baltimore Comic Con, and all these kids are doing the cosplay, and it's all like this. And you see these drunken idiots walking out of the stadium at a Camden Yards. Yeah, they come walking out like, look at all, and they're calling them all kinds of names and giving them this hard time. Like, look at you guys dressing up like that. About that time, there's a bar right there, and this big guy comes walking out the bar and goes, "You're making fun of them look at the back of your shirts. You're pretending like you're your little baseball heroes. That's the lamest crap I've ever seen. You're giving them a hard time for dressing up like people. At least these people they're dressing up like are like they're heroes. You're dressing up like grown men. That's the gayest thing I've ever seen. You're calling them what?" And they just shut up, because what are you going to do? The guy looked like he could have murdered them. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I wish I was taping it.
I wish I was taping it.
And speaking of enthusiasm,
came through here.
what's the, we'll be going the 29th, right? September? To the Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
September 30th, I'm on the website to see who's going to be here next year.
Yeah.
And I check it all the time,
Yeah.
so don't get me wrong. My enthusiasm.
Oh, sure.
I look, I'm always bugging you. Is previews coming out this week?
Right.
Because I'm actually going to be getting a catalog of the stuff that's not coming out for 2 months, and I'm so excited to see what is coming out.
He knows the box that I take with me. I have a luggage thing, dude. I have like a box and I have it strapped on with like a bungee
Wheels.
cord, and I have wheels, and I take it around with me. And this box is only delegated. In fact, I have to get a bag when I buy something, if I buy a comic, because it won't fit in the box. I have to actually go back now and look at this box and like look at Art Adams' section in particular, which is about this thing, and go, I can't take all this stuff because I can't fit
He
others.
gets updates all the time.
I can't-
Beasley's going to be there.
I
Art
can't
Adams
fit
gonna be
other
there.
stuff in. I can't fit other stuff in my box I want to sign. So if I want something to buy something, someone will have to get it for me, because I'm going to be in lines all day.
I'm going to make a call right now, a prediction that at Baltimore Comic Con 2054, Walls has it strapped to a rascal. He'll have the boxes on
Yeah.
each side and just kind of be riding through. And
The 2054 Wall's going to have his own section.
Yeah.
And he's
The artist's going to come.
They're going to come to me.
I'm saying it's gonna say the historian,
Yeah.
and they're gonna come. They're gonna be like, I sold out of New Mutants #1. How many do you have? And Walls is like, got 30 of them.
Just remember,
Where's my sandwich?
you heard it on the street, Stately Street.
No, I just enjoy it, but that's how many cool people are coming to Baltimore. That box I mean, it's full, and I'm going to plan hopefully to visit all these guys. I mean, and there's tons. I mean, I'm talking quality freaking people.
When you
Yeah.
talk to Beasley, if you talk to Beasley, if he has you a sandwich, ask him when he's going to do something new. Like for real.
And better.
Something.
When are you going to
And
get
much
good
better.
and original?
Something real.
Actually, he did some pages of Fear Itself.
Something real.
He did some Frankenstein monster stuff. That
That's
were
still-
really super cool.
That's still
They were cool.
years ago.
They were cool. Oh, Fear Itself wasn't that long.
Well, guys, we're approaching the 90-minute mark as
Uh-oh.
requested.
So the guy's going to make it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to be bored.
Make the work listening to us.
You still got to go to work.
Yeah, we can't do anything about that. But anything else you guys want to throw out there? Closing thoughts? Any?
Music,
I have something to
music
say.
anecdotes.
Yes, sir.
So this is live. I mean, can people call in?
We can get to that stage. Yeah, we're working on that one.
We have the technologies like
We have-
$6
yeah.
man. All right.
Yeah, oh, this is like the $40 podcast.
So
Jim Spencer, I have a question for George.
Well, we're doing the podcast on the very object that would take the calls from. It means we got to hand out somebody else's phone number. So
Yeah, so
well, I sort
having,
of figured that, but I was like, yeah.
having the phone number would help.
like everybody out there, just start calling Tim.
Yeah.
That's what I just
Thanks.
said.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
call Tim
On
next
his
episode.
home phone.
question
On
for
the
On the home phone.
I'd like to know.
The Lease Ranch.
On mom's home phone.
That's how you look it up. The Lease Ranch.
Sandy'd be glad to talk to you.
No.
Of those comics out there with your parents' number.
That's right, yeah.
Do you ever
Yeah,
think
it's
Kim,
like-
could
some
you
kid
please tell
somewhere
me?
is going to call your parents to ransom those books off?
They probably could.
Kim, how many comic books did you write your phone number
Tell
in?
Tim if he wants this book back, he has to send me $50.
11-teen. How come you guys sound
I have your book.
strangely the same?
You'll never see it again.
Send me $1.25.
No, we are in what my father would call a decaying orbit, so it's time to bring this to a close.
True story.
Spiraling
We're
into
losing
the
legitimacy.
legitibility. has
Works hard
reached
for
an
this
all-time
legitibility,
low.
folks. Hashtag legitibility. Hashtag Stately Street. All right.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
So, hey, it was a 5-week hiatus, and now we're back, and hopefully we continue this. Is everybody that's here good next week?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have my work
Yep.
schedule yet.
Yes.
Tim has to work.
Maybe Donnie can show up.
Maybe Donnie will. I know he wanted to be part of those questions.
He did.
So,
Why didn't he
Send
call?
more questions.
why didn't he ditch work and call? Yeah, Donnie. I don't mean to call you out, Donnie. Why didn't you call?
Donnie.
All right. On that note, I am George, and I was joined today by Gary. Walls. Tim. See you later. And Austin.
Thanks for listening.
And we will see you all next week. Thank you.